Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again, and this time I wish to address and understand our attachment to our beliefs and to the culture of that particular society. And it is my understanding and it is my perspective that the belief and the culture are so enmeshed and so intertwined and are so a part of each other that they influence and impact each other in ways that probably we consciously do not realize. And somewhere innately they become a part of ourselves. They become a part of our identities. And to start defamiliarizing from those identities is a little rough road, is a very uncomfortable path, and it's in itself an innately a very uncomfortable feeling that most of us do not like to delve in. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a particular saying in English that goes that familiarity breeds contempt. I would edit this over here and I would like to add something to it, and I would like to say that a lot of familiarity breeds contempt. Too much of familiarity breeds contempt. So familiarity can provide us a safe ground for us to start leaning into the uncomfortable, so that we get curious about life, so that we get curious about ourselves, so that we get curious about learning and growing. So, if I take an example over here, which is with regards to a conversation which happened with a friend of mine just a few weeks back, wherein, she had just called me up and she directly asked me, questioning me what is my take on bisexuality. And, I had this huge grin. I almost laughed aloud, and I took a deep breath and I sat down. And then I told her that I am not prejudiced about any kind of sexuality. I don't have a judgment on it. And I'm absolutely okay with, people expressing themselves or sexuality experiencing itself in diverse ways. And I also went on to tell her that since she waited, I went on to tell her that, nature in itself is so diverse and we are nature expressing ourselves just differently. But the thing is that we cannot say that one way is better than the other. But somewhere I was, gossipily curious, and I wanted to understand as to why she had asked me this question, because somewhere I thought that, she was experiencing a different aspect of herself. So I did ask her, I said, is it something that you're experiencing about yourself? And she laughed, and she laughed from the gut. But it was a very mocking laugh, and she happened to say, not yet. And somewhere I was like, okay, and why did you ask that question then? So she went on to tell me that, the other day she was having a walk in her society, and she happened to come across this lady whom she has known for a few years now. And that lady looked troubled, that lady looked distraught, that lady looked frazzled and hassled, and all of the negative notions that we can think of. She looked anxious, she looked upset. So my friend started walking with her, and then she asked her that, she is looking distressed, she is looking angry and upset and bothered by something, and would she mind sharing it with her? Now, this lady took a while, but once she's warmed into my friend, she did tell her that she and her husband are facing an issue because they've recently come to understand, or they've recently come to know, not even understand, but they've recently come to know that their son is bisexual. Now, the son, who's a 17-year-old kid, had come out before the parents and had, told them about his truth as of today. And the parents are not able to handle it, and unfortunately, or fortunately, unfortunately, I would say, that they have locked him up. And this happened a few days back. So he had been locked up for a good 5-6 days, and he was just being given food. So he was given his basic essentials, but he was still not allowed to come out of his room till he accepted that he was willing to change his ways, or that he was willing to become straight as such. So that is why she had asked me this question, to understand what my take was. Now, if we look a little deeper into it, we would understand that the parents' conditioning of the past 50, 52, 55 years has been about being straight, and probably that being the right way to be and right way to doing things. And since that identity now is being challenged and now is being questioned, they are kind of troubled with it. Probably they are not as much troubled with the son being bisexual, but they are more troubled with their identity being questioned and being shaken up and being stirred a little, which is my understanding. Because all of these years, half of their life, if we take 100 years as our existential norm, then half of their lives they have been told that being straight is the only way to be, because that is how you recreate your own family, and that is how you take the family's legacy forward. And none of the people in their family and people that they know of have experienced bisexuality, or at least nobody's talked about it. So everything that is uncomfortable and unpleasant, and that which challenges their authority and their knowingness about certain things, becomes discarded, or is discarded, is innately wrong, because their parents had not experienced it, their parents had not experienced it, and their parents had not experienced it, and none of the other family members are experiencing it. So if this is the only child who's experiencing it like this, then it's got to be wrong. It's a foreign thing, so it has to be wrong. And also it does not fit in the belief system of our society, of our culture. And if it doesn't fit in, it can't be adapted. It just got to be discarded, which is exactly what the parents are trying to do, which is invariably trying to tell us that our belief system, our culture, whatever the culture, be it of the family, be it of the educational system, be it of the societal norms, be it of the community, be it of the nation, be it anywhere else, religious, politics, economics, you take any norm which gets normalized, there is one right way, and anything that is beyond that right way automatically becomes the wrong way, which invariably also means that there is one size that needs to fit all, and if you do not fit in that size, you better squeeze yourself in, even if it means physically squeezing yourself in to fit in that particular size, because otherwise you'll be shamed, otherwise you'll be ridiculed, otherwise you'll be discarded, otherwise you will not be accepted in the tribe, in the community. So for generations and generations, we keep doing the same things over and over again, passing on the same things and carrying forward the same things throughout our lives without even questioning. And yes, I do understand that there are certain norms that need to be followed in context to that particular time. But then it needs to be revised, like how we revise our budgets, like how we revise our political scenarios, and like how we keep revising the rest of the lives, our curriculums. Why can't we revise things? Why can't we revise the beliefs? Why does it need somebody to break away or somebody to be discarded? Why does it take a crisis for us to finally awaken, to start inquiring, to start questioning? Does it does it apply today? Does it hold good today? What I'm trying to say with regards to this example is that yes, it may have been applicable a few thousand years back when our ancestors lived in wilderness, or when their lifespans were shorter, when they did not live beyond the age of 25 and 30 and 35. Yes, I don't deny that it would have been applicable, because we needed a bigger tribe to survive in the wilderness. So we needed to produce more. And if we had more of gay people, and if we had more of bisexual people who were inclined towards being more gay, obviously our tribes would not produce that much, or produce that many more individuals to make a bigger tribe. But today we have a tribe of 7 billion people, and still we become rigid to carrying on those same notions. Still we become rigid about being in the right way, or doing things the right way. Are we really not squeezing ourselves really tight in order to fit into one size? And does that one size fit all? Which is invariably also saying that I'm quite okay living in my coffin because it keeps me safe. I'll breathe in my coffin, doesn't matter if I don't get to live. But I'll fit in the coffin, I'll feel good over there, I'll not be threatened over there. Doesn't really matter whether I'm dying inside. But yeah, I prefer to be in the coffin. Are we not doing that? Should we not question whatever beliefs our cultures have, whatever identities that it has imprinted on us? Should we not inquire so that we grow? Should we not take a step back and say that yes, probably what I thought I knew could have been a right way, may still hold true in certain aspects, but then this perception also holds true, and so does this, and so does that, and so does the 50th and the 100th perception as well. They all hold true in some context or the other. And one size may not necessarily fit all. We may not then be required to squeeze our breaths out to fit in that one frame. Because the time we start to do that, we start to die inside. We kind of disown ourselves. So not only are the others disowning us, we are also disowning ourselves. So where do we truly belong? If we can't own ourselves, how can somebody else own us? And if our own people cannot own us completely, how do we own ourselves? So I think we need to start questioning and inquiring, and start re-evaluating our own belief systems, our own cultures, and start leaning into the uncomfortable, little bit at a time, in small doses, so that when it comes in front, it's not scary, so that we don't have to shun it out, so that we don't have to lock it up, so that we don't have to push it under the carpet, so that we are more willing to deal with it, so that we grow, so that we evolve, so that we transform, so that every single time we become a better versions of our own selves, so that we belong more to ourselves. And if we can belong to our own selves, we also allow the others to have that for themselves. There is no way then we will be shaming and putting down somebody and discarding somebody just because we feel threatened, just because our identities of the past 50 years, 40 years, 60 years gets a little shaken. So let's try and do that. Let's try and grow into a better versions of ourselves. Let's try and belong to ourselves so that others don't feel challenged when they bring up their own selves before us, so that they don't have to dim down just to fit into our light and into our version of right. So let's try and do that more often, and I will see you next week once again. Till then, stay tuned in.